That happens sometimes.
Okay.
Sorry,
We're
go ahead, Maria.
recording. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. And cut.
All right, so now we're good. Now we're good. Now we're good.
You started recording and it fucking disconnected my headphones.
Get them connected. Because
I can still hear you with my headphones.
you're ruining our audio.
I'm not echoing, am I?
We don't know because it's on the Zoom.
Well, it's muted on the Zoom.
Steve, if I have to explain this again, I'm literally going to punch you through this phone. Thanks for joining.
It's hard to do, especially to teach the young
Yeah, actually, I don't really understand it either, but whatever. I don't need you to explain it to me. I just know we need headphones.
I don't wanna understand it.
All you have to do is swipe up on your thing, go to settings on your phone. Then you go to Bluetooth and you
Okay.
select your headphones.
Can you hear
and
me?
it'll be on your headphones.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, Steve, if you don't have your headphones in, your computer is
He can't hear
gonna.
you because he's frozen.
Okay, now he's frozen.
I can hear you.
He's doing his settings, his earphones.
It says it's connected.
because it's it doesn't
It
create
says
a
it's
wall.
connected.
He's powerful and he can.
Okay, Steve, go. This happens to me too. Go on your computer, go to settings, and disconnect your AirPods from your computer.
Something to think about. It was long.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that. I guess you do have to
Because
do that.
it's gonna favor the iMac over the phone.
Going through. It's gonna leave for a big gap there.
One of the things you just described in his launch angle swing, he calls it more of a Ferris wheel than a merry-go-round because
I trained legs today, guys.
getting into
Me
It's
too.
a rare thing for me to do during a week. In fact, I don't remember the last time I trained quads during the week. Nice.
I'm doing them tomorrow.
We're in there like swimwear. I only train quads on Saturdays. Today was a rare feat by me.
I did quads too.
I strained my hip flexor last week. I woke up Thursday morning, it was like my right hip flexor was super sore and tender. But it's good now. I had Umar worked on me. I got some stim on there. I got localized cryotherapy done twice and acupuncture.
Mine was a lot less. Tim dead legs. Yes, I did. Mine was a lot less eventful. I just had soccer practice for my son on Saturday early. I didn't feel like getting up even earlier than that to go train legs. So yeah, it was a good time. That was a good time. My son's soccer team got their ass handed to him. There was this little fucking motherfucker number 9 on the other team. He even had like a cool fucking haircut too. But like I could tell he was gonna be a menace the minute we saw him. He was running up and down that field just for fucking shits and giggles. Like I don't even know who does that. You know what I mean? It's like somebody gave him crack before he went to the soccer game. And then he legitimately scored 6 fucking goals. And I'm like, that motherfucker should not, he needs to be tested for PEDs immediately. Definitely on something.
That's funny.
But yeah, otherwise. All right, questions. Who's got the questions? Who wants to go first? And I think I like the way we did it last week. I don't care if we go back and forth. I really have no real preference here, but I think it's just easy if one of us rambles off all of our questions at a time and then we go to the next person.
How many did you get?
I only got, because I didn't update my questions until 2 p.m. So I only have like 5 questions, I think.
I have 2.
I think that's kind of standard for me though. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. And I keep forgetting to get that other link that I put up sometimes. I realized last week that I had a couple of questions in there that we didn't do, but now it's too late for that. So I got to get those next week.
All right. Rhea?
Who wants to go first?
Rhea's making me laugh.
Shit. Sorry. I just have 2, so I'll go. How do you pick a suit for your competitors, color, style, etc.? So I personally, so as far as color, it's dependent on hair and skin tone, and also honestly someone's energy when they pose. If you're not edgy, you can't wear black, right? If you don't have spice, you can't wear red. But it depends on the person. And then style, so I'm assuming that's like the cut. So specifically with the top, you can go molded or regular. Again, it's going to depend on how chesty someone is or isn't. And then the bottom, you can play around with the cut of the back, how big or small it is, but also the front as well, how high and low it goes. So it depends on someone's structure. If they have a longer torso, a shorter torso, we'll tweak things. Also depending on someone's size of their glutes, but the shape of their glutes too, depending on how we want this suit to sit, all that matters. So it's just dependent on someone's hair color, skin color, energy and flow, and structure as far as their physique goes.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is stop trying to be like something special with your suit color. Like you don't need anything special. It's going to be the same monotonous colors. There's going to be 18 other girls at the same show with the same color suit as you. Just
Yeah.
get that out of the way. Like you don't need some sort of like fucking rainbow colored suit.
I
or
like to
something
say,
vibrant.
if you stand out, it's not good. If
Yeah.
your suit stands out, it's not good.
Like if you dyed your hair red and or like some like whatever like orangish red color that some women might do, and then you get a purple suit, like it's not going to
Yeah,
look good.
no,
You know what I
no,
mean? And
yeah.
it's like one of those things where it's like, but I wanted purple because not so many people wanted purple. Who the fuck cares? If it's not going to make you look good, who cares about like the uniqueness of your suits, right? It's going to be something that stands out in almost like a negative way, right? Like you don't want to stand out for that kind of a reason. You want to stand out for only good reasons. And when you stand up, if every girl on stage is wearing red, which I think is one of those more like red and blue are almost like universal in a sense, right? And it's not, you're not universal, but again, they're going to fit so many women in so many different ways, right? Those two colors. And it's like, you might be on stage and every other female in first call out has red. If you stand out relative to them, now it's a great thing. You know what I mean? Like you're making yourself stand out even more because of your muscularity or because of your posing or because of your structure or whatever it is. Not trying, like sometimes we go to shows and we see these suits and it's almost like as soon as somebody walks up in one of those suits, like, oh my God, what were they thinking? Like,
yeah, but also if we're thinking that, the judges are thinking it times 10 because their eyes are even more trained than ours. They don't want to be distracted by your suit. They just want to see your physique and move the fuck on.
100%. Don't try to get crazy with your suit. And the only other thing, guys, the one thing that drives me nuts, and like you talked about the bottom cut for women, like to me, a cut that's too big, it stands out in such a negative way. And I know
like a diaper.
like, yeah, exactly. Some women are like, oh, but you know, it's too revealing. That's the whole fucking point. Like, if you don't want to step on stage in a thong, like, don't do it. Like, just don't do a bikini show. You know what I mean? That's exactly what bikini is. Like, you're gonna have to get comfortable wearing a thong in front of a lot of people. And I know that might sound creepy coming from a guy, but like that is the reality of the matter. And same exact thing goes for dudes. Like, I saw some guys recently at a show where their suit was like so big from the bottom, it looked like it was from like 2002, and it just like it's not an appealing look. You know what I mean? And again, it's one of those things where, especially for a guy, we are trying to show off glutes. We are trying to have, you know, a certain level of conditioning and muscularity back there that really represents, you know, how hard you work during that prep and how lean you actually are. Don't cover that up just because you have this big of that. But buy a fucking new suit, dude. Suits aren't that expensive, especially if we're talking about prep, how much money you're going to invest in that, how much time you're going to invest in that. Get a new fucking suit. Don't wear some old suit that you've had from fucking 14 years ago that's like baggy and fucking big and has these like crazy bottoms that look like garbage bags. Stupid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anything to add, Steve?
No.
Okay. This one's good. This one's good. Oh.
The men's suits, I guess, I could just add on, I guess, but I mean, Tim pretty much nailed it down. Like, some people, it's either too much or too little, right? Like, you see some of the guys where it's just like they're essentially wearing like a fucking thong on stage. And it's like, you don't really need to show that much of your fucking glutes, you know, or they're hiding all their glutes and it looks like they have a diaper on, you know. It's like, well, what the hell are you doing, you know? So, like, having bigger trunks isn't going to hide the fact that you didn't diet your fucking ass off and your glutes aren't boxed out. So,
yeah.
If you're not ready, just diet longer.
I might need a BP cuff, Bernard, because I'm fucking chewing on cinnamon zins. Like they're going out of fucking business.
Tim uses the wedgie cut.
Yeah. I like thongs personally. But, you know, banana hammocks, as we like to call them. All right. What's your next question, Marina?
This one's good. Given intensity is in the right place, which would you increase first in a building phase? Training volume or calories?
Wait, what? Say the question again.
Given intensity is in the right place, which would you increase first in a building phase? Training volume or calories?
Calories.
Yeah. Remember, the more volume you have with training,
The
your intensity is going to go down, right? Intensity as it relates to training should be defined as how close we're training to our 1 rep max, right? Everybody thinks of intensity as this thing where it's like, I'm training really intense. That's more of like, I don't know, an emotion or a feeling that you're having while you're training. The reality of intensity, if we're really going to define it as it relates to training, is how close you're training to your 1 rep max. There actually is a definition for that, right? So if you are training intensely, like close to your 1 rep max, right, but now you have 4 sets instead of 2 sets, right, that intensity is going to have to come down. You're not going to be able to sustain that all the way through those 4 sets. And if you can sustain it through those 4 sets, right, then you're really not training with the intensity level that you thought you were. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Yeah.
And like Steve just said, like it does, or I guess you can elaborate on that if you want, Steve. Like,
With what?
you need to be fueled properly to be able to train at that level.
Yeah, I mean, like, so if we're trying to build, right, and we're trying to grow, we want as many calories sticking, right, as possible. So you being in the gym for, and I got a question about this, right? Like timing, adequate training time. So it'll kind of tie right in, but you want food sticking. If we're feeding you to grow and you're in a surplus and I'm telling you to do 2 working sets and you're fucking doing 5, like you're not doing enough, right? I just went over this with a client. He posted on his story and he was like, "Oh, Steve tagged me. He's like, he's got me doing 9 sets of leg extension." I'm like, "Motherfucker, I don't have you doing 9 sets of legs. What the hell are you talking about?" He was doing the 2 warm-up sets on his plan. And I told him, like, just take 2 to 3 build-up sets to find a good weight where you're not at failure on them. We don't need you blowing your knees out, but where you're failing around 12 to 15 with the tempo I got. And he was doing the warm-up sets, the build-up sets, and the working sets, all as failure sets. I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, and I'm like, dude, it's way too much, bro. You're on a leg extension for 30 minutes where you should be on a leg extension for no more than 10, right?" So I'm like, it's too long. So back to my point, you want to be in and out, put the most effort you can into your top sets, blow your load on them, and keep moving. I don't, maybe in pre-contest, again, though, now we're running into a whole nother thing where you're managing
Energy
fatigue.
availability.
Yeah, and like you should honestly probably not be able to be in the gym an hour and a half when you're 4 weeks out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have that much energy to go through a proper intense training session for 90 minutes, or something going on, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would say if all things are considered, like we really want to see the opposite, where if intensity is going up, training volume's coming down.
Yeah.
Because you are training so intensely, you can get the job done in 1 set. You can get the job done in 2
100%.
sets. You don't need 4 or 5 sets to get the job done.
No, if
You-
and again, that goes to mind muscle connection, right? You only start to build that over hours of repetition, thousands of reps over time and years. Like, I don't think after all these years I'd be able to do any more than 6 working sets on quads or 7, like what I've been doing for 3 years now. Like, and my quads are a strong point. I physically can't get anything more from them. You know what I mean? Like, if I was to do another set, I'd either hurt myself or get 0 out of it and just fatigue my nervous system more. So, whereas like a beginner, you might need a few more sets, right? I get that, but work on that connection, right? Before you start to add a ton of weight on shit. So many people would be so humbled by what the actual muscle they're trying to work and move versus what their egos move.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where it's really hard to notice when you're younger. We've
Oh,
been
yeah.
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Where it's one of those things where you don't recognize that central nervous system fatigue. You don't realize that systemic fatigue until you cross that boundary.
No.
And once you've crossed that boundary, now you're shot. Like training sessions just aren't fun for a little while. Maybe you're not getting the same pump in the gym. You don't have the same focus in the gym. And what you basically did was you fatigued yourself to a point where it's like, okay, probably need some time off. You probably need a good deload, and you push past that boundary. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I don't want to use the word overtrain because I know a whole bunch of people have a problem with that. But the bottom line is you're pushing to a point where your sessions are less effective, right? Or less efficient, right? And it's like, there's no need for that. If anything, when we're younger, we want to try to, again, go in there with the intensity that's going to allow us to get the job done within the least amount of sets possible. Somebody just asked, is 2 to 3 hours too long a session if I'm going super intense with proper rest time? Yes,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think
100%.
absolutely.
I'm at a point where, like, okay, so if you ask me at 30 right now, if I even have an interest in training 2 hours, the answer is absolutely. Like, I don't even have an interest in training 2 hours.
Yeah.
If you asked me
Yeah.
5 years ago, I'd say, yeah, hell yeah. But
Exactly.
priorities change. You learn more. You learn how to train better. Like today,
Yeah.
I did back. I did 8 working sets, and by the end, I couldn't feel my back. Like I was cramping, and I'm already fucking sore. if this was again 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would have probably done 20 sets of bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably only gotten true fatigue and actually working the muscle at 5 of those sets.
Yeah.
You
See,
know?
that's the one thing I would say is when I was that young, I wanted to be in the gym for 2, 3. I worked in a gym. I was there
Of course,
all
yeah.
day, every day. I loved it. You couldn't pull me out of it. I had to train 7 days a week, yada, 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 6, 7 days a week, every single week. The problem is I didn't grow that way very effectively. I didn't. You know, it was again an energy availability issue. Like I wasn't eating enough to be able to get there, and I was training too much, and it was just there wasn't enough fuel to be able to grow effectively. You know what I mean? And I know people are like, "Well, I eat enough," and it's like, well, there's a certain point where if you are training intensely, you're not going to be able to make up that. Like we talk about it all the time when it comes to fat loss, where it's like you can't out train a bad diet. It's the same thing when it comes to this. Like you're not going to be able to out diet a shitty training concept, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And overtraining is what it comes down to, right? You're not going to be able to out diet that, right? So because again, we're talking about central nervous system fatigue. Sooner or later, the only thing that you could do for that is more rest. And you can't rest if you're in the gym 2 or 3 hours at a clip. You know what I mean? You're just not getting enough rest out of that. And I think when the light bulb really goes off is when you are done, you're training 2 or 3 hours a day because you want to, not because you have to. And at a certain point, you're going to have to realize that if you want to get a certain result, you're going to have to do things that you might not want to do in order to get that result. And once that light bulb goes off and you're like, oh shit, I'm training maybe 4 days a week now, right? An hour and a half at a clip at most, right? And it's like, holy shit, I'm actually growing. It's like, that's when things start. But what I did was I waited too long, right? I waited until I was 28, 29, 30 years old to be able to recognize that, have your coach instill that in you at an early age so you don't make the same mistakes that we did and you're able to get more growth out of it, you know?
Well, I made that mistake for years, 100%.
Yeah,
You know,
but for all intents and purposes, you were also genetically gifted enough to be able to make your way through that and still grow effectively. There's going to be a lot of people where you're hindering your results. You know what I mean? You could be hindering your
too
results.
much. Yeah, dude, no, I've been there too, where I'm like, what the fuck? This isn't improving. And it's just like too much, you know? What the fuck?
Son
hell?
of a bitch.
Why does it always do that?
They didn't like our answer.
Yeah, somebody fucking reported us.
I don't, did you get a notification?
Oh, it just ended.
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
thought
go
it said
back.
that you were reported or something.
Yeah, we were having a good fucking discussion too.
Yeah, that was such a good roll.
Fuck. All right, I'm going back home.
All right.
God damn it, fucking Instagram. Blame Joe Biden. What the fuck?
Right now, returning to seats in this Ford F-150 for just $399 a month for 36 months. Only at your local Ford stores.
All right.
Somebody didn't like our answer. It was
Make
Gio.
sure,
Gio, you reported us, you bastard.
All right, Steve, you want to go right into the question you had, then you can rattle off all your questions?
Yeah, so this
The question you said pertained to it?
I had one that was what is adequate training time. So I mean, again, just to touch on it a little bit more is I don't think I train honestly. I think like my push days are an hour, and that's 5 exercises. Johnny's got me doing 2 arm supersets on both the push days right now. And I think arms takes me 15, 20 minutes. So I'm training about an hour 15, maybe an hour 20. Quads usually takes me about 90 minutes, and that's just literally on my top
Rest.
sets, like the leg press or the hip press or like the pendulum or the hack squat. Like the 2 top sets, I literally have to rest like 4 or 5 minutes, like between them. Like there's just no other way. I have to catch my breath, and 2, I'm very in tune by now to know exactly when I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Also, too, there's a huge mental component for me, and I think obviously that goes for anyone who's knows how to actually take a failure set to failure. Where half of that time, while I'm just trying to regain composure, you try to get into that mental place too, where like like the set's do or die.
Yeah.
Mindset, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, like the build up to it.
Yeah, and I mean, I might have leg extensions. You know, I'm doing 3 sets of 12 to 15, and like that might take me 5-6 minutes. And like split squats recently too, because my strength's been shooting up. My 3 sets on those is taking me a good 2-3 minutes to rest too. So I'm at an hour and a half, whereas say a month or 2 ago I might have been at 75 minutes, you know. But but everything else is usually an hour 15 at most. I'd say that's an adequate time. If you're blowing your load on working sets and really targeting, activating the muscle.
Yeah. Especially if you're working by yourself. Like I think those
Oh,
are
yeah.
really good time frames
Yeah,
to be able to look at. If you're training with somebody, obviously you'd have to lengthen that given that somebody else is going to be there. It's double the
course.
workload. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, I would say I'm right along with those, with that thought process. And honestly, I would say if anybody's being really realistic with themselves, look at the amount of time that you're spending in a working set, like legitimately time yourself for a working set. You know what I mean? And you'll see you're spending at least double the amount of time resting that you are actually training when you're putting that, when you're really putting it, you know, into focus.
Marina, anything?
Oh, sorry, I got distracted. Completely distracted. What was the question? Time training?
Adequate training time, yeah.
I usually am like an hour to an hour and a half.
Safe.
Like upper body nowadays, like my delt day, actually I finished my delt day like in like 50 minutes. And then my leg days usually an hour 15. My other delt and kind of back rear delt day, like an hour.
Yeah, I would, like, I think too, like, you will get so much more out of true working sets where you're activating the muscle and going to complete failure versus just sitting there going from fucking A to B and doing 20 sets, like 100%. I'd much
Oh, yeah.
rather,
Oh,
I'd much rather
definitely,
you
yeah.
be there for 30 minutes doing 3 working sets than fucking an hour and a half doing 20 and
And honestly,
50% of that being bullshit.
I'm more gassed at the end of my, quick delt day than I ever would be if I just extended it just to hit like an hour and 15. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like I get in, I do
Just to
what I
be
have
there,
to
to
do.
be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like for me at this point, I have, and remember, I'm older than everybody here, but like I have a limit to where it's like, there's a certain point where I'm getting gas, bro. Like I'm
hell
not,
yeah.
like I don't have any performance left after a certain point.
No,
Like I'm done.
You can feel it. You know when.
Yeah. All right. What other questions you got?
Would you rather a client miss meals or supplement them with shakes if they're sick or don't have enough food during a day?
Me personally, I would say definitely go with the shakes if you're going to miss a meal. Like I would say protein shakes aren't something we're ever going to say like, yeah, this is always a better option than food or as good of an option as food. But sometimes, like, listen, life happens, dude. And like
Yep.
everybody lives a real life. And if you're trying to, make progress and you're also trying to live a normal life, there's going to have to be some concessions to be made. And thinking like, oh, it's better for me to have a burger because it's real food versus a protein shake. It's like you're just fucking lying to yourself. Like at the
Yep.
end of the day, a protein shake will suffice when you're in a pinch, even if it happens like for me, because of work and sometimes the kids and shit, that might happen multiple times a day, multiple times a week. And it's like you got to make do with what you got sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I would always tell you like clear shit with your coach so that you know what you can do. Like I might have somebody check in there in an off season. They're like, well, I replaced this meal with a shake. It's like, well, don't just do a scoop of protein powder, 2 scoops of protein powder. Like bulk that up with like some oatmeal or like a banana on the side, add some EVOO in there or something like that to add some fats and make it more balanced. So there's definitely ways that we can help you kind of fortify that shake a little bit. Ultimately, we want to be eating as much whole food as we can, but a shake isn't going to hurt if it needs to be done.
I was gonna say the same thing. So obviously whole food first, like if a client's like, oh, I can't eat the food, I'd rather have 2 shakes a day, like, no, you're gonna eat the food. Like it just is like you're getting way more out of it than fucking powder from a micronutrient standpoint. Also, your fucking GI is not gonna be as goddamn distressed, drinking powder, food all day versus the powder. So again, if you're in a pinch, like say you're fucking dropped your food on the floor, like yeah, you need you to get that protein in. Like, I'll get questions like that, frequently, like, hey coach, listen, I just didn't have enough chicken for the day. I misplanned the prep. Like, that's fine. It's 25 grams of protein in there. Do a scoop of whey isolate. I got 10 grams of fat. Just do 20 grams of fucking almond butter. Or, just put, the 10 grams of, like you said, extra virgin olive oil in there, blend it the fuck up and drink it like for the meal. But I don't want that all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've had nurse clients, firefighters, police, where like they physically are like, hey, I need the option to have there in case like bless you. In case like I'm with a patient and I can't take that 10 minutes to heat the meal up and eat it. It's like, sure, in cases like that, I'm gonna put the option there on the plan, cause like, I'd rather you get those nutrients and then skip it. But again, if you're a 9 to 5 and you're sitting at a desk all day, like, there's no excuse why you can't eat your whole food, you know?
Yeah. I used to have a job that I had to travel a lot. And my thing when I was traveling to stay on track, like everybody knew that I would be traveling with a 2 pound container of protein and a bag of oatmeal, right? Like I used to get the big oatmeal things from Costco, and there was like 2 big bags in one box for the oatmeal. So I would literally bring one of those bags with me, and I'd bring a thing, a 2 pound thing of protein. And this would be maybe it was if I was driving around, it'd be in my car, in my van at the time, or it would be something that I would pack in a suitcase and literally bring with me if I had to fly. And there were times where it was very noticeable if I was going away on like whatever, a 3 day trip or something like that. And I replaced literally 90% of my meals because the only meal that I really had outside of that when I was traveling, just because I trusted it, was egg whites and dry rye toast or oatmeal that I would get at a place where I was getting my egg whites, right? Like I would try to supplement in whole food where I could, but when I was on prep, I was obviously very, very adamant, or when I was dieting in general, very adamant about what I was supplementing in and making sure that I'd be able to quantify it in some way, shape, or form, right? So most of the time it would be me sticking to things that I can weigh, like oatmeal and whey protein powder. Now, what I would notice after an elongated trip, like I said, just a couple days, 3 days, I would go flat so quick and so easily, even if my macros were 100% of what my meal plan was supposed to be, right? It was dead on. I was eating the same amount of food, but because I was switching from whole food over to this protein powder and this oatmeal, right? And maybe I would have like whatever, almond butter or something like that I could add in there. Sometimes I add in blueberries, and I would just make a legitimate sludge. So because I was on the road, I might not even have a microwave to cook the oatmeal. I would literally just take my quick oats, put a little bit of water in them until they get soft, and then add the protein powder, make it into like a sludge, and I would just pound down that meal real quick. It was fast, convenient, easy. Sometimes I would literally just grab whatever plastic cup that was at the hotel room because I didn't have any type of container to mix it in. And I would literally just make this concoction in a cup and eat it down real quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever I had to do to get the job done. But again, the problem would always arise that I would get super fucking flat, like super flat. And then I could literally just go back to my diet, eating the whole foods, and I would fill out enough, right, to get back on track. You know what I mean? So there's definitely a difference between the whole food and the power. But again, it's like, how are you going to justify? Like, in my mind, it was always that thing where if I try to justify the fact that I'm eating this, this, and this because I'm going flat, the reality is now I'm going too far in the opposite direction. I'd rather be flat and know that I'm continuing to lose that body fat rather than trying to go in an opposite direction and maybe potentially inhibit my results in terms of fat loss. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Six. What made you get into bodybuilding?
Dude. We've talked about this one before, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rena, what do you got?
I wish I had a glamorous, cool story, but I really
I don't need
just wanted a challenge. Out of what I was in college, I was 19. I had been going to gym for some time consistently after finishing gymnastics, and I needed a challenge. So I found him, and the rest is history.
Yeah, for me, it was really like I was already doing it. Like I had already fallen in love with the process of, literally every single year it was I was trying to get as lean as I could for summertime, and then I would try to get as jacked as I could every winter. And obviously at that point, like, you're not giving yourself enough time to get big and yada yada. But again, the point is that at that point it was one of those ones where it was like, I'm already doing it to a certain extent. And I was the guy too, where it's like I still have some pictures from before I'd ever competed, and I would get lean, like, veins in my abs, veins in my quads, like lean enough to be whatever, 3-4 weeks out. You know what I mean? So I was legitimately pushing myself to that point where I was food focused. I was already there. You know what I mean? And all I needed to do was have somebody guide me in those last 4 weeks. And it was one of those where it's like, I'm already doing it. I might as well see what it's like to step on stage. And that's, basically where I got, affected by the bug.
Yeah, I think you guys know, but I've talked about it a lot at this point, but my dad got me into it in high school. Just didn't really fit in. I was had a really tough couple of years and wasn't in the best headspace in terms of like depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. And I was just a small kid, so my dad got me into it. It was originally not even for bodybuilding; it was so I could gain some weight and muscle for hockey. because I was so fast on the ice, but if I got hit, I got fucking obliterated, you know? And the ice is only so big, you're gonna get fucking caught eventually, so, that's how it started, and then it got into me wanting to learn more about nutrition and things like that, and then I forget who, I think it was Flex Lewis, I saw in a magazine and like one of the smoke shops my dad stopped in to get cigarettes. At the time he was smoking, and I was like, fuck, I wanna look like that motherfucker one day. Yeah.
If we're talking about why we got into lifting, that's a little bit. I was the same. Like I was just small. You know what I mean? I was small. I had a small penis, and I wanted to get more girls. So I figured, build muscle.
Yeah,
You know
that
what I
makes it
mean?
look
Get
smaller,
jacked.
that would make it look smaller.
I didn't know at that point, Steve. I didn't know at that point, right? I didn't train legs yet, so I was still good.
So, Tim actually is lying, he started HGH right in the tip of in the wiener, when he was just 17.
I wish I was on GH at 17. I don't care where I'd be injecting it.
I probably wouldn't have gotten picked on if I was on GH at 17.
Yeah, exactly.
I was- Oh, God. All right, what else I got? Recommended injection spots.
We talked about this last week. I'm solely fucking lats, glute / hip area, and like my upper side quad area.
Yeah, so I haven't done my glutes, even though I was just on TRT for the last handful of years. Like I haven't done my glutes in a long time just because of the scar tissue buildup. I tried ventral gluteal last week. I still got some like knot and pain. But I'll do like the upper outer quad. I do my lats, my medial head and rear delt both. I do my long head and my tricep. So I have a good amount of spots I do. To be honest, I use an insulin needle in my medial and rear delt. My tricep, long end of my tricep, I use an insulin needle as well. My lat, I'll use a 1-inch 25 gauge, and my quad, I'll use a 1-inch 25 gauge.
Yeah, anything in my shoulder, I have to use. It's got to be water based, but I will do rear delts for anything water based.
Yeah.
What about you, Marina?
I do my hips, I do my glutes sometimes, I do my delts just for my TRT because it's so tiny little. That's about it. Oh, sometimes I'll do my quads. That kind of spooks me.
I think you already touched on that, but how much test are you doing with 2 milligrams? You said
3.5.
a week.
Yeah.
And what does that bring your test to?
Last time it was 40.
So I had a 50-year-old. She's 49. Her test was 3. She was on 3 milligrams, and her test went into the 300s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but that's because she got her blood work done too soon after injection. So in other words, she probably took an injection and literally like
So-
within 24 hours went to get her labs.
But
Yeah,
I got
so-
mine within 24 hours, Tim.
What?
The last time we went, I got mine within 24 hours.
Purposely though.
So I'm lower than 40.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when do you inject? Then when
Well,
did you
again,
inject
for Marina, because of this, so we changed everything for her. She was injecting what, twice a week?
Twice a
Originally-
week. It was two milligrams twice a week. Then we got labs done. I think it was like 3 days after last injection, 3 or 4 days after last. And my test was actually exactly where
Back to baseline.
yeah, it was at
Yeah.
15. So then we moved to every other day, 1 milligram.
So
Yeah, which
I had,
keeps it elevated.
and I have her at 1 milligram every other day.
Right. So I would just say next time, tell her like, hey, wait 24 hours to take the test. Right. And like, don't go in because some people will literally, it sounds like she injected herself in the morning
And then
went to
went.
go get blood work at 10 a.m. You know what I mean?
No, that's what she did, and I told her not to do that.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there you go.
I
That's
said,
not bad.
listen, if you went to the doctor, I told her, say your appointment's on Wednesday. You don't have to and you injected that day, you can go Thursday. But then she told me her appointment was on a Friday. And her appointment was at 8 a.m., first one, and she was fasted to get blood work because they do it right in the office. So I said, do your shot at night, right? When you get back from work, whatever. She was like, I forgot and did it in the morning. Like, no shit, your fucking test was 360.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he's got to be retested. That's the only thing you
So
do about
I
that.
Yeah.
still have her on it. She's like, should I stop? I'm like, no, don't stop, your test was at fucking 2.
Yeah, yeah.
12 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 360 is a lot less input. Like if she waited just again that 24-hour window, it'd probably be something a lot more reasonable.
Yep. No, I agree. And I told her, but then the doctor wouldn't retest.
Of course not.
No. So
Coleman, it's not. Don't think like quad shot. Like so many people go like old school, like down by the.
no,
like
you have to go on the
roundhouse.
upper outer quad sweep.
Yeah,
like the
literally,
upper outer.
almost like the outer thigh.
The
You know what I mean?
thickest
Forget
part
about the
of the
quad,
meat.
outer thigh, like underneath the side of your ass.
Yeah.
Totally different. I used to shoot the quad way back in the day. Like one time I was sitting and we had the sliding glass door to the bathtub. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like I was sitting next to that on the toilet, injected the side of my quad, pulled the needle out, the blood just shot all over the fucking
I-
looked like a crime scene. It was
I've
fucking
had
awful.
that. I've had
Never
that in my
injected there
shoulder once. I was like, I had my arm down like this, and I was like right in the shoulder, and I pulled the needle out, and blood shot like 4 fucking feet, dude, on like
Yeah, dude.
on the shower curtain. I was like, holy shit, that was cool. That was-
Oh God.
Uh,
God, no.
let's see what else I got here. How much oil do you place in one location?
See, this is where I'm a finicky bitch with this. I don't
Me
like
too.
doing a lot of oil
Me
in
neither.
one location. I really don't.
I don't do more than a CC.
Yeah, in prep, the last prep I did, this is back in 2019. I was, I would go up to, I think it was 2.5 cc's I was doing at the time, per. But literally, at that point, it was one of those ones where it's like, getting closer to the show. Now I'm just going to do the insulin syringe and I'll do everyday injections if I have to. If I'm doing that much volume, it's because it's only whatever, 3 injections per week or something like that. But again, I don't prefer that. I'd rather just do daily injections with an insulin syringe if I can get away with the insulin syringe at that point, which most of us should probably be able to. But again, I would rather a smaller volume, more frequent injections.
But that's it's essentially what I'm doing right now. So I got 2 more. So just kind of to piggyback off what you said, Tim, like this guy said, can you please discuss your current PED setup?
For you?
I mean, that's what they asked, but I mean, you got everyone would answer it, and I don't care either. But
Yeah, I'm like a baseline level HRT of some Masteron and some testosterone. So really low dosage of both. And just like I said, spreading that out over the course of 4 injections for me. And it's all an insulin syringe. And I literally don't inject more than 0.5 ml per. But again, I'm not, trying to do anything special here for me. I just, living life, baby. Feeling pretty good. That's all I'm trying to do.
He said, "Feds don't do it." What the fuck?
Yeah. And then for me, it's also L-carnitine. I'll use, the pump by Amino Asylum, stuff like that, but nothing more aggressive than that for
Does
me.
that stuff work? You like it?
Yeah, the amino pump is, the whatever it's called, monster pump or whatever.
So what do
is
you do? You
pretty
just inject it in the body part you're training?
Yeah.
So 1 full milliliter.
Yep.
So
And I'll
like if
split it
you're
between
doing
body
if you're
parts.
doing chest, you have to pin that shit in your pec.
Yeah, I usually will pin, if I'm doing chest and shoulders, I'll usually pin my shoulders
I was gonna
just
say,
because
fuck
that's
that.
the area I want to train
I'm
more.
not
I
doing
have
my
done the
chest.
chest.
I'll fucking swallow salt with no water before I fucking do
The
that.
chest?
Chest isn't that bad, honestly.
Fuck that shit.
All right,
good.
well then.
I wonder if I injected my
No, fuck
implant,
that.
if anything would happen. Probably nothing.
I would
Start
not try.
pulling fake tit out. Like,
Yeah, just like spraying, instead of blood, it's just fucking whatever's in there.
Silicone.
Yeah, silicone spraying everywhere.
Just you know how you aspirate, like if you aspirate an injection, just silicone just starts coming out. There's no
Oh
blood.
God.
Oh god, that sounds miserable. I would not pin my chest. Oh,
No,
God.
I mean,
That's
usually
spooky.
it's either biceps on arm days or no, now I'm doing triceps on arm days. I switched everything over to triceps because my biceps actually grew a smidge. So it's either triceps on arm days, shoulders on upper body days for the most part, and then quads is usually what I'm doing.
Tim, do you still like check in with yourself or do you just like look in the mirror?
No, yeah, I'm not really that. I was, maybe sooner or later I'll probably hit up Steve, but for right now I'm just living life,
Okay.
If I look at myself, I'll always end up doing something stupid, honestly, or like change it too often or whatever. Like I have to have, if I'm
Yeah.
gonna be on anything structured, I
Yeah.
have to have somebody that I
Telling
can
you
like
what to
check
do.
in with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now I'm doing 250 SUST every other day. doing 30 MPP every day and 100 master on every day. Masti.
Whoa, same cycle.
And six units of growth every day. Do 2 in the morning, 2 pre-workout, 2 at night before bed. And then on off days, I'm just doing 3 in the morning and 3 at night. And I feel fucking amazing.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel great. I also haven't been on PEDs in 3 years, so it's been a month now. And I've gained
That's
20
nice.
pounds.
Really?
Yeah, I went from 228, I was 248 on Sunday morning.
But it's also because he's back on his fucking diet too.
Oh yeah, I'm also eating. And
You're
I
a
hate to eat.
behemoth.
I hate eating. I fucking can't stand it. I fucking hate it. It sucks. I might just go get. I don't want to eat my beef meal. I think I'm just gonna go get burgers after this, to be honest.
Tell Johnny.
He won't care, bro.
have-
He really won't care. It's crazy. He won't, because I'll lose weight, dude.
Yeah, you're a lucky son of a bitch.
If I don't eat a meal, I'll probably lose 3 pounds.
Oh well, yeah. At this point, yeah. I mean, that's realistic.
I feel hungry, but like if I want red velvet cake and cheesecakes. I don't want fucking chicken and rice.
Yeah, welcome to life, dude. I mean, come on.
The beef meal though, he did change. So it's pasta with beef, and he threw in some more fats in there. So it's mac nut oil now on the meal. But he told me I could just put marinara sauce on.
See, in a grow phase, if I ate a burger instead of that, I'd lose weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'd lose
sucks.
weight from the burger. I'd end up eating a burger and maybe even some fries, and then I'd be like full, and I might miss out on a little bit of whatever my next meal is. And now all of a sudden, I wake up and I'm 3 pounds lighter because I had the burger. So for me,
Yeah.
it's always been better just to stick to the fucking plan, have food to digest well, so I can get that next meal in
Well,
and not cause any
I
problems.
know what I know what the issue is there, Tim. You're not stopping for ice cream on the way home.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's you might lose more if you get diarrhea from that though. So
This is the only reason why I'm signing up with Steve.
Why does meal
Like
one
what,
through
dude? You
nine-
told me froyo. You told me it was
Yeah.
cool.
Why
Put
does
so much fucking toppings on top.
Yeah, why does meal 1 through 9 say ice cream with whatever you want on top?
Yeah.
Pre bed red velvet cake.
Marina, what's your current stack?
Current stack, just good old TRT.
Damn it.
And just, oh yeah, trend, we're adding that back in a week. And just started back up on Clen, a little bit of thyroid to get skinny.
Wait,
And
you said-
L-carnitine.
Wait, you said
1,000
Clen a little thyroid?
milligrams.
Clen
Yeah.
and thyroid, T3.
Marina has a really
Oh.
shitty thyroid, so as soon as we start dropping calories, we put in a like whatever 10 micrograms. I think we have around 15 micrograms.
Something like
Of
that.
what, T3? That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or T3
Yeah.
numbers are usually at the bottom of the range. So as soon as we pull
So-
calories, it goes in.
Really? So you downregulate that quick.
No, it's literally it's been.
I
Like that for
never
years.
upregulate.
Yeah.
Really?
So literally since we started, her blood work, as far as we can go back, is pretty much like base level, like 15 nanograms of testosterone is our high point. You know what I mean?
Hi.
Really?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, and like if we look at T3, what's the range for T3? 2 to 4?
Yeah.
T3,
Yeah,
yeah.
so hers is like 2. And like the highest ever been is like 2.8.
It's never been like 3.5.
2.8, you're
or anything?
kidding. It's like 2.5. Don't give me 2.8.
Yeah, like legitimately under 3 chronically, like always.
Well, so you've never had it at like 3.5 or anything, like around there?
No,
That's
no.
The only time it's ever happened is when we were in last prep. We had her up at 30 micrograms. Later in prep, we
Yeah.
got some lab work just to check. T3 came back through the roof, so we had to lower the T3 at that point. But that was literally
Yeah.
the only time we've ever had like an even high in range number for thyroid values.
And I was obviously on replacement.
Yeah.
More than them. Well,
well,
right
no,
around.
30 micrograms you were on at the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm doing. What else? That's it. Carnitine,
Carnitine 1200, Clen,
1200.
and then 20 micrograms. Yeah, and then the TRT.
Yep.
Not bad at all.
Just chilling.
I
Just
don't even
chilling.
consider the carnitine a PED. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I guess it is. No, it's a performance enhancer, but I guess it's not a drug. Technically.
Yeah, I don't really
Yeah.
think I wouldn't consider. I don't. I mean,
Yeah, I guess-
I wouldn't consider it. Like,
Yeah, I guess it's.
I mean,
in
I
the
don't
eye
put
of
it
the
like
beholder.
on someone's PED thing on their PDF. I put it
Yeah,
like
you know what? I'm weird with
on
that.
their
Sometimes I
diet.
do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I put it with the regular supplements. Sometimes I put it under the PEDs. It really just depends on what mood
No,
I'm in.
I never, I don't, say I feel a little frisky, I'll put this on with the drugs.
Yeah.
I
don't-
think you have it under PEDs for me.
Well, sometimes you know what it is. If it's like Stampede, like I like to use to be able to enhance performance, or maybe Super Shredder at a certain point in a dieting phase, right? Because those I'm legitimately putting in to try to get a little bit more performance out of the session. So I'm
Yeah.
legitimately putting in Stampede like pre-workout, or even Super Shredder pre-workout or pre-cardio to literally enhance those sessions. You know what I mean? So for me, it technically is the performance enhancer, right? Whereas L-carnitine, I might have in there on a base level, like, hey, we're trying to maintain a healthy, like, cellular function and maintain healthy metabolism output. So it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, let's put this in at baseline. You know what I mean? So it legitimately does come back to like my thought process on why we're adding it and what we're trying to get out of it at the time.
This is true.
This is a pretty broad question, but I'll just ask it anyway.
I told you, Bernard, your dosages on everything are super, super low. Bernard said, damn, 1200, I'm doing 600. Bernard's also never
More
been
than
able to
you,
push
Bernard.
anything,
Of what?
anything. 400 milligrams has been his total dosage of any drug that we've ever used.
Really?
Like 600 milligrams of carnitine, again, not using it as that a drug, right? Like that was one of those things where it's like for him, that's kind of like just, there to be able to aid every day, like maintaining, again, healthy cellular function, keeping body fat a little bit lower in his growth phase, yada, yada, yada. Right. So, but again, he's the one that's like very, very, very moderate as far as dosages are concerned. And we've been fucking growing off of that. So,
True.
Yeah, this is the most I've ever taken, honestly. I don't know why I didn't do this before. I feel great.
Go back to Walmart.
Oh no, I'm good.
All right.
It's no. Go.
Do you have another?
you got more?
I got
I
one
know.
more. It's how do you set up an new initial client's plan? It's just such a broad question. So like I don't know that we have a clear cut, obviously, answer to this. I think it just really depends on gender, what they look like, the visuals, what they're currently eating, doing exercise, cardio wise, their blood work. There's just so many things. Like it's impossible, at least for me, to give a clear answer here.
Yeah, I think it really comes back to we collect info, right? Like we have our questionnaires that we send out. We accept that information back along with visuals, right? And we're collecting like what that person's currently eating, lifestyle shit, different things that has to do with their typical environment, like their sleep schedule, all that type of stuff is information we try to compile up front, their training regimen with detail, all that different stuff. And then from there, we basically make changes based on where that person's currently at and where we think they need to be to help them reach their goals, regardless of what those goals are. So it's going to look different depending on where that person's at and where we need to get them to help them reach those goals. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know I said
Hell
that
yeah.
like 13 times already today.
That's what I was gonna say. Questionnaire, eating habits, and meeting them where they're at, and then moving on. Moving up. That's what I want to say. Moving up.
All right. So questions for me. Should rest times change between sets depending on if you're in prep or off season or dieting or trying to grow?
Say that
I
again,
would-
Tim?
So rest times between sets when you're training, could those be altered when you're trying to grow or trying to diet or prep or off season?
Again, I think it really just depends. What's the exercise, right? And again, like I think we already touched on this, a bit, right? But like if it's a hack squat, if the effort is, there, whether you're a month out or in the off season and 50 weeks out, like the effort needs to be matched. Sure, your strength's going to dip, right? It's a natural part of the process, but I don't think the rest time is going to pick up on a movement like that, or like your major pressing movement for your chest or shoulders or something like that. Sure, your side laterals or your leg extensions, if you want to go from a minute to 45 seconds, 30 seconds, sure, keep that intensity up, maybe, get a little more caloric, output, burn more. But those major movements, I've never tried to rest less in a prep versus an off season because I want that maximum output to be in that set. It still matters.
Same.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I was gonna say.
I think
don't
if you're
so.
in this particular question, I think he's asking about reducing rest time during an off season to move a little bit quicker through the session and like keep up. I think in that particular case, we're back to what we were talking about earlier, and this is kind of
Yeah,
all
that makes
melding
no
together.
sense.
What I would say in that case is you're probably searching for a way to feel this session a little bit better because you went into that session with a little bit more fatigue built up. And now you're trying to get something out of that. And sometimes what you're doing is you're legitimately trying to push yourself harder. And when you're pushing yourself harder in that case, you're getting more of a cortisol response, you're getting more adrenaline, more epinephrine is being produced, and you're legitimately pushing your body past where it wants to be. The reason why you're going into the gym and you're feeling kind of sluggish, you're less focused, you're not getting a good pump is because you're fucking fatigued, right? You're fatigued. Right, you trying to push your body to a point where it's now less fatigued because of the hormones and neurotransmitters it's producing, yada yada yada. Right, it's like you're overextending yourself to be able to get the job done. Where it's like, hey, you're probably better off resting, right, feeding up, maybe like taking some time there for yourself and going back to the gym a little bit fresher without that fatigue and doing your normal training sessions with your normal rest time is probably going to be sufficient. But I'd say if you're increasing, if you're shortening your rest time, right? I would usually say the opposite. Like I'd be okay with somebody increasing their rest time because they're training so fucking hard. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
oh, of course.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would have
Yeah,
added.
dude, there's
Yeah.
I like sometimes when I'm doing quads, for example, just because it takes me the longest. Sometimes I'm like sitting there during a set, say on that the fucking Cybex leg press I have in my shed, and I'm like pondering how the fuck does somebody rest 2 minutes during a top set? Like my knees are fucking touching my goddamn beard, and I'm like trying not to puke for 5 minutes just before I
Yeah.
can even think about the next set. Like I don't know how people fucking like a client came to me like this. I'm talking like a year or two ago, and like the training they have, like whoever the fuck, I think that he said like he made his own workouts up. The motherfucker was doing like 5 sets of 10 on the leg press with 30-second rest. I'm like, dude, how are you doing? Like, how the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, I was trying to keep the intensity up, like really get the blood flow. I'm like, dude, I guarantee you, if you dig your ass into that pad, pull down on the fucking handles on the side, and you make sure your lower back is as safe as it can be, and you dig that range of motion down and do like a 4 count tempo down and pause in the hole and go up and squeeze your quads at the top. There's no way you're fucking resting 30 seconds, dude.
Not with training with any good amount of weight. You must have one plate on each side.
Yeah, fuck that.
Mhm.
Yeah, nowhere near.
Because I can't. I physically think I'm dying when I'm done a set on that leg press. It's fucking brutal. It sucks, honestly. I hate it.
Yeah. That's one of those ones where, like, if you're training in a public gym and at some point, like, I actually had this happen a couple weeks ago, right? Where, like, legitimately, I'm training, right? I'm actually on the leg press. This is a few weeks back before I went on vacation. So I'm on the leg press and, like, I'm training. So, like, I don't care if I'm in LA Fitness, fucking Kingdom, I remember, like, it doesn't matter what gym. And if I'm training, like, I am like relatively loud when I'm training. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a fucking church mouse. Like I'm training hard and I'm gonna end up fucking when I'm in the hole, like I got fucking however many 8 plates on each side or whatever that's coming down on me and I'm coming all the way down. Like I'm gonna have some sort of fucking something's coming out of my mouth as I'm pushing that weight back up. There's something happening there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But anyway, I'm training and I'm doing all my leg presses, right? And I see somebody that I'm like, I notice this person. Like I see their face, like I recognize it, but I can't pinpoint it. And I'm like, does she just look familiar? Do I know who she is? Later in my session, I'm doing hamstring curls now to finish off. She comes over. She's like, Tim, it's been so long. The same girl. It was a previous client of mine, Sarah, right? And she's, we start talking. She's like, I don't know what we were talking about, but sooner or later it comes up. She's like, did you hear that fucking asshole over there that was like screaming and grunting while he was working out? I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I had to go up to my boyfriend and tell him, like, did you hear that guy? I couldn't believe how loud he was. What a douchebag, right? I'm like, Sarah, that was me. That was me. Like sooner or later, like if you're training hard enough, and on the flip side of that, I do get people that come up to me all the time, and I don't know who they are. Don't like I've never had a conversation with them, and they'll just put out their hand and like give you a pound. They're like, dude, that was an intense set, or like that was hard, or like whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's the level. Like if you're training to that extent, like you're gonna need rest. You know what I mean? Like you're like there's no way you're going back in 30. Nobody's gonna find that impressive. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got 2 plates on there and I'm training with a 30-second rest. Like, sooner or later, it's one of those things where you got to gauge yourself in some sort of way. And there is a legitimate, concept there. I don't know if I'm articulating it well, but if people are coming up to you and they're telling you that you're training hard, now you're taking those sets to some level of intensity. I have a problem with the fact that he said that it was intense. He was trying to keep his intensity up.
Mhm.
I think the idea of what intensity is fucking gone. Like it's gone. Like nobody had like intensity is like this thing where they're trying really hard.
Mhm.
And it's like I get that you're trying really hard, but that's not hard enough. Like you need to ramp up what your concept of hard is. You know what I mean?
The best way I could describe it just in layman's terms is get on a heavy leg press or a leg press or a fucking squat movement of any sort. And when you think you're done, do 5 more. And if you get those 5 easy, you have 5 more.
After talking to Justin when we had him on the podcast, you and I, we were talking about the DC training. I decided to add a Widowmaker set into my hack squats
Oh yeah.
today. So a Widowmaker is I'm supposed to get at least 20 reps, right?
Yeah.
I pick a weight that I can only do
At any
10.
means. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
rest pause essentially, right?
You're not supposed to rack it. You know what I mean? So like a rest pause, you would rack it,
Yeah.
take 15
So
seconds.
just
or
hope
whatever,
you
go
don't
back
die
in.
and get the 20 reps.
Yeah, I died. That hack squat came straight down on me.
What's hack
At
squat?
15 reps. What?
What hack squat was it?
A fucking matrix hack squat. It's a 90-degree
yeah.
angle.
Old school. Yeah, that thing's fun.
Yeah, 155 pounds with no fucking weight on there. I
Yeah.
had 4 plates and a 10 on each side.
I,
Yeah, it's just one of those ones where it's like, you know, that you're gonna get folded sooner or later if you're training the right way.
100%.
And if you are it's one of those things where it's like you should be used to it at a certain point, you know?
Oh yeah. I haven't done the hack squat now in 4 weeks. I've been finishing with the pendulum. Just like less strain on my knee, I found.
Yeah.
And that thing is a bitch because I put the wedge at the bottom. I have a 15-degree wedge from Prime, and I'll put that at the bottom. And it just it's amazing what just like a 2-inch wedge can, how much harder that shit can. My outer sweeps, because I'll put my feet closer together purposely. My outer sweeps feel like they're actually gonna tear. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Well, I mean, it's just a ton of blood flow and like the stretch in the hole. Like when I pause before I go back up, the stretch is just so deep, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that we see people abuse that machine all the time by not going down deep enough. That's a conversation for another day.
My ass is literally on my calves.
Yeah, it should be that machine. It always should be. There's no excuse not for it to be.
I mean, I even think on a hack squat, unless you're like really trying to unless you're trying to purposely get in that range of motion where you're not trying to put tension on the glute, the ham, you know what I mean? And like you're just trying to hit that quad, right? Like right above the 90, right to like up, not even locking out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even the hack squat, I'll take that all the way down. If it's gonna give you the range of
me
motion,
too.
take it all the way down.
I'm all about all the range. Like the leg press, stop loading this shit up with 12 plates. No one cares. Put 4 on there. Bring your knees down to your chest. Pause and then go back up.
All right. Next question is one piece of advice you give but you don't follow. That's a good one.
Ooh.
Don't give in to your kids.
Don't give in to your kids. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just give my daughter whatever she wants.
Oh, I got it. Should I say it?
Go.
I tell my clients to get their steps done first thing in the morning. I don't do that. I find myself at 10:30 p.m. on my walking pad right here.
Stay away from big booty goth Latinas. What the fuck?
Yeah. Goth Latinas.
What? I've never
That's
seen a
scary.
goth Latina. I need picture proof of that. What the
Yeah, exactly.
goth Latina?
I've
definitely-
seen a goth Latina. They're very
Yeah, I'm
spooky.
sure I have at like one of the death metal concerts I've been at. That's
One thing that I've been breaking my rule on lately is my cell phone at night. I've been watching.
Oh,
it
kind of
is for a little
same,
while
kind
now.
of though, kind of.
Yeah, I've been breaking that rule hard. I do like I have my blue, like literally on my nightstand right now. I have my blue blocking glasses. Last night I woke up. I had one of those nights where I passed out and I didn't wake up once the entire night. Like I woke up and I didn't even know where the fuck I was. Like I couldn't find my phone. I couldn't find my blue blockers. Like, and I usually do fall asleep with my blue blockers on because I'm watching my phone. But I've also found something on YouTube that I find like fucking like so relaxing and so cathartic. It's almost like I
What is it?
can't sleep without it now. I don't want to tell you.
Tell me.
I don't want to tell anybody.
I gotta know. I gotta know, dude. I watch bowling before bed.
Yeah, there's
Is
this
it worse than
There we
that?
go.
Yeah, there's this outdoor show
He goes,
where
yeah.
the guy like camps outside and he'll like go in like freezing conditions and he digs like igloos out and he makes like it literally has he's got like 8 million followers on YouTube. He's like one of the richest YouTubers. So it's not just me, but it's like I don't know why I find it so relaxing to watch.
Penguins
I know-
mating. He was kind of spot on.
What happened?
He said probably.
Bernard said
Yeah,
penguins
mating, it's close
mating.
enough. But yeah, I do the I'll watch that. It's literally, I kid you not, the name of the YouTube thing is called Outdoor Boys, right? So it sounds kind of gay.
Yeah,
But
that,
yeah,
that
it-
definitely sounds
Definitely.
like some Brokeback
It's definitely
Mountain.
sus. It's definitely
yeah, but
sus.
it's not. It's literally it's him with his sons, and they go into like these weird conditions in like Alaska and like the Arctic Circle and all this different shit. And they're
I'm
literally
like
in
okay with the
survival.
phone thing. Like I keep it in my room. I usually tell people like best to keep it out of your room, but I
Yeah.
definitely am on it off of it for long enough prior to going to sleep. So
Yeah, I literally fall asleep with it on. It's so bad.
I
Yeah.
can't
I
because
wake up in the morning
I honestly
and my phone's
feel
dead.
yeah, it's weird. I feel icky. Like when I am on my phone in my bed, I feel like it's like dirty socks in my bed. I'm like, this
See,
shouldn't be here.
I know I
What?
shouldn't be doing it. So
Yeah.
for me, it's one of those things where it's like I'll lay down and I'll like be like, I'm not doing it tonight. You know what I mean? And then like 15 minutes later, I'm tossing and turning back and forth. And
You're
the
like,
other one that I
stop!
watch a lot,
Outdoor boys.
well, there's another one, a guy named Mike Chen, right? It's called Strictly Dumplings, and it's just literally this dude that goes around to like Korea and
I
like
read a book,
Japan
Nina.
and like China and all these different places, and he eats food, right? And he like reviews it or whatever. He's like, a foodie guy or whatever, travel food guy. And I can't get enough of that one either. So it's literally those two things that I watch all the time.
Wait, all I typed was OU and Outdoor Boys came up.
Yeah, see, told you it's popular, very popular.
Damn.
Don't judge me.
Now I'm gonna-
Wait, that actually looks, it actually, I'm looking at the 3 days camping, hunting, and mushing in the Arctic, and there's huskies.
Yeah, I watch that one. Yeah,
Wait, can we
yeah.
talk about bowling?
They're
real quick?
legitimately old school mushing.
Shelly said she's a diehard bowler.
There's nothing to talk about with bowling. She
Bowling
says
is
she's a hardcore
stupid.
bowler, but you probably have like fucking. I don't know if you're in the same league, Shelly. I don't know.
Oh, she don't want to mess. Shelly, you drive down here and we could go bowling.
Remember, she's all the way up north too. She's basically in the city, so for her, that's like a 3-hour mission.
Literally.
Ass kickings don't wait for nobody, Tim. You want to come get it? Come
You go.
get it.
This looks so satisfying.
Read a book. What do I look like? Fucking Bill Nye the Science Guy over here,
I
Mr.
don't-
Metropolis?
I don't think she was recommending that to us, Tim. I think that was to Marina.
I hope not.
I do
hope
read. I read
Um,
my fiction before bed.
So next question is, what's something people freak out about in contest prep?
Everything.
But well, something
Everything.
specific where it's really one of those things where they just need to trust the process, and that particular thing's always going to work out.
I'm not losing weight quick enough. I'm not changing. I'm flat. I don't look like I go to the gym when I'm 12 weeks out. Why did I lose 10 pounds so quick? Why do I have to do too much cardio? Why am I hungry?
Why am I hungry?
Why can't I sleep? I keep waking up to piss. Like where there's we could go on all day.
Actually, I thought that was pretty good. Like
Yeah.
I'll second everything you
It's
just said.
just like
That was like you rattled off like everything really quick there. That was good.
that's
That was
because we're
actually
so
good.
used to it by now, dude.
She's a new competitor. She also has another question here
Oh,
as a new
First
competitor.
competitor, when am I gonna get a cheat meal? When do I get a refeed day?
Nah, she's good with that shit. She's
Okay.
good with that
Well,
shit.
I'm saying
She's
She
she's
is, but-
traveled. She's traveled so far. She's the girl that's always got like a plastic bag on her.
Oh,
And
that's
like
good.
she's showing up to all these events and they're like, dude, you can't bring that in. She's like shoving it in her pocket or whatever.
Good.
She's good with that shit. Yeah, she's a good competitor. But I would say like the biggest thing for me is the scale weight thing. Like, don't worry so much about the scale weight and realize that like, it's a bodybuilding competition. It's not a weight loss competition. So that's a big one for me. But literally if anybody wants to know the answer, like just rewind what Steve said, slow it down and listen to it. And that would be
Slow it
perfect.
down.
On the same note, though, as a new competitor, right? Good genetics and bodybuildings get thrown around a lot. Like the verbiage "good genetics" or genetics in general gets thrown around a lot, but she's specific to good genetics. What does that mean exactly? Coming from a new competitor that's new into the sport, I hear it all the time. Good genetics. What exactly does that look like?
I think it's like two sides, two different sides. So there's like I guess internal genetics, how easily you can lose body fat, how easily you can maintain muscle, and how much you have to diet to do so to get there, or cardio too. But then also your structure genetically. So how wide your clavicle is, how small your waist is, how wide your hips are, how long or short your torso is. So I think it's two things. It's structure, but also internally. So like it's different.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, though. I didn't know where you were going when you said two different ones, but like that's a perfect. So like I guess the way your body looks, the way that's built, the way that's made, right? Like some people have really wide hips naturally. They might be super skinny, but their hips relative to their body is wide. They again, you brought up clavicle. Some people they have wider clavicles, and that's going to create differences within their structure in terms of the way that they
Yeah.
pose. and
The
way that the physique look.
ratios.
Yeah, the ratios, exactly, the proportions. So there's all different. And then again, internally, when it comes to prep, it's one of those things where it's like, what level of resilience do you have to the amount of stress that you
Resilience.
have to
That's the
put
word
on
I was
the
looking
body
for.
to be able to get a result, right? Some people have very, very little resilience, and it shows in terms of the different kind, quote unquote, side effects that they might have when they're dieting, whereas other people have very little side effects and they continually get a good result from that dieting practice, and their body continually adapts in the right way to make things very efficient.
I like to think I was structurally made for bikini, but internally I was not made for bodybuilding at all.
Yeah, sometimes you get one and you don't get the other. Sometimes
Yep.
people are great at building muscle, they're horrible at losing fat. Sometimes people are great.
I'm
losing
horrible
fat,
at building
they're
muscle,
horrible.
horrible at losing
Yeah.
fat, but I have a good shape. So here I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good genetics is one of those things where, and we talk about it from a bodybuilding perspective. Good genetics could be like, hey, this person's 6 foot tall. That's better genetics than me at 5'9". You know what I mean? Just in terms of like general, like, whatever life, like, when we really boil it down, like survivability. If somebody was in a like Paleolithic era or whatever, you know what I mean? Like seriously, like at the end of the day, that would be like a good genetic thing to have. But again, when it relates to bodybuilding specifically, we're looking at that, like how resilient is somebody and what is their potential physically, whether that's shape, structure, muscle development, etc.
Boom.
No, what's up, dude?
We should have had him on today to replace Matt.
He blasted since he was 17. I'm not answering that question.
Yeah, no clue. I don't know. I don't know what I know.
I have not a clue. All I know is he probably works fucking harder than you.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm not trying to be rude, but if you're concerned about the drugs he's taking, ask. Honestly,
You're not
honestly,
worrying about the right thing.
Yeah, you're not worrying about what actually took to get him there.
And again, we just
How
talked
long-
about genetics. You don't get a look like that unless you're
No.
genetically
No,
gifted to get
guy-
it. That's the reality of
The
it.
kid's what, 19,
What's up, Elias?
and he has the muscle maturity and density of a 30, literally a
For
30-year-old.
this pod-
No
So-
podcast. I mean, no Adderall, Elias. I'm just popping Zins until I can't breathe. Maybe I'm gonna throw up everywhere. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No, so I was gonna say, like, one, he's genetically speaking, right? His genetic ability to put on muscle quicker than the average is far elite, right? And his density and the maturity his muscle is also far beyond his actual years, right? So, well, it is the point because that's what you asked, right?
That you literally that was.
It's not 90% hard work and it's 100% hard work and dedication. I would just my honest opinion to this question for you, Nick 13, would be look at how long the kid's been consistent after the genetic portion of how long this kid's been consistent with not missing a fucking meal, and the genetic response he has to his mind muscle connection that probably naturally comes to the kid without having years of repetition of it, right? And his adherence to his sleep, his water, not missing a shot, right? If you want to touch on the PEDs, right? Keeping up on his blood work and health, all that. So everything to look like that is in line on top of having that kid has elite genetics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't, most people don't look like that level of hard, grainy, like where he
Grainy.
puts on all like
But also
years,
talking about
years,
structure,
years.
talking about structure though,
Well,
like
that's all genetic.
Yeah.
I saw him at Iron once, just like from the back, and I could just tell it was him just from his shape. I was like, Instagram doesn't do it justice. I've never seen someone that looked that like just crazy. I couldn't even the only word is crazy.
Oh, it looks insane.
All right. So when do you start to see strength decreases during prep?
Oh man, everybody's different.
It's different for everyone.
Yeah. How
I
much
don't-
trend are you on?
When's Halo start?
How much DHB are you on? Is that what it is? DHB? Yeah, DHB. Yeah, that's one of those ones where it's, honestly, and I think for her, she's cruising right now and seeing some strength gains and still hitting PRs and whatnot. And it's one of those ones where for you can really, if you're prepping the right way, you're not going too crazy there. You're taking your time like we are with this particular client, right? You can really sustain a high level of performance for a very long time. And you might not see that kind of crash or whatever you want to call it until you're 4 weeks out. We really got to dig. And it's all cards are on the table. You might have days there where it's no carbohydrate, whatever the case might be. We're going to do whatever we have to do to get you in that conditioning, right? That's going to happen within that, 4 to 6 weeks out mark, depending on the person. person, everything up to that should be taken at a pace where it's like, you know, it's pretty consistent as far as the pace is concerned to allow you to maintain performance. So, because again, back to what I said earlier, it's a bodybuilding show. You know what I mean? It's a bodybuilding competition. It's not a weight loss competition. It's not who can get there faster competition. You know what I mean? I see people sometimes, it's like, you know, like I have somebody now, we're posting pictures of Riley, obviously, and he's maybe whatever, you know, let's say he's 14 weeks out right now, 15 weeks out, whatever the number is. I don't know because we haven't picked a show yet. Like we could easily post his things and say like 15 weeks out. But again, that doesn't do us any good, right? It doesn't like nobody wins a trophy from being shredded or looking good at 15 weeks out. You know what I mean? So if you're going too fast at the beginning, which has been a popular thing here recently, people saying like, you know, push really hard at the beginning because you won't waste any tissue and you just came out of an off season. So you have a little bit more to lose. That's all fine and well. But again, nobody gets any rewards or points or anything like that for being shredded at 15 weeks out.
No.
You know what I mean? If your look starts to fade because you're so fatigued, or if you're coming in a little bit stringy or flatter, you know, and you don't have that level of fullness and that hardness that you should on stage, it could be indicative of things that were done earlier in that prep, trying to rush things a little bit too soon, especially, you know, losing performance in the gym. Right now it's 1-1 and the Orioles got 2 runners on, guys. It's not looking good for Nasty Nestor right now.
That sucks for him. He's probably still making a ton of money though.
Yeah, he's not one of the higher paid guys, but he's definitely making more than we
How
are.
much is he making?
I don't know, probably a couple mil,
That's
like probably
that's
3 to
ridiculous.
5 mil.
That's
Yeah.
fucking. What do you mean not with a higher? That's ridiculous.
I mean, that's for a pitcher. Like we also have a guy on the team who's making $36 million a year in the
Who,
rotation.
Aaron Judge? Oh,
No, Garrett. Well, yeah, I think Aaron Judge is making 36 million. Garrett Cole's making 32 million or something like that.
It's nice.
J-Bad's here. Draw, baby. You're late, Justin. You're late.
yeah, we're just about done.
No, we're done. I'm done. I got nothing.
Done?
left.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're done.
We
Should
shall,
we-
what?
Nothing. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, should I sign off?
Yeah, I guess it's sign off time.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening. Thanks for everyone on the live. We'll catch you guys next week.